My name is Auxence Muhigwa. I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I grew up in Eastern Congo in a town called Bukavu. I have a bachelor's degree in international relations and a master's degree in supply chain. What made me switch to supply chain from international relation to supply chain? I saw a potential in business in my city, Bukavu. Agriculture is a sector that is really neglected in my town.
Yes, we can, sure we can change the world.
Welcome to the YALI Voices podcast, your home for sharing the best stories from the Young African Leaders Initiative Network. Be sure to subscribe to YALI Voices wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to all the podcasts at yali.state.gov, where you can stay up to date on all things YALI. Auxence Muhigwa is the founder and chief executive officer of the Center for Youth Emancipation and Development, or CYED. It's an agribusiness that produces organic soybean oil and is committed to developing a reliable and growing agriculture value chain to support farmers, packagers, distributors, and the youth that Auxence employs. In this YALI Voices podcast, Auxence talks about why and how he started his agribusiness and takes us step by step through his organic soybean oil value chain.
People tend to go into politics and into gold mining, and they forget about agriculture. I believe agriculture is the answer, is the key to development. So I decided to go for a master's in supply chain, and my father had to soil his land, and the other members of the community had to put together some money for me to go and study. They saw the passion I had in me. I really wanted to do business. I really wanted to design something, some business idea that will bring many stakeholders and players together so that we gain together from the business idea. And that was a soybean value chain. I saw the effect on the people because in my country, there is no cooking oil company. All the oil is being imported from neighboring countries and even from China. And people are complaining about the cholesterol level in those oil. So I tried to analyze and see how I can help the community and produce oil locally. But I didn't have any knowledge in cooking oil production. So I decided to go back to school, study supply chain and learn how to produce cooking oil. Now I'm running the whole supply chain, from the farmers to the consumer table. I train farmers in organic soybean farming and post-harvest techniques, that's storage of the seeds, of the crops. And I buy the beans from them. These people had no market for their beans. They would produce 10 tons of beans, but they didn't have markets. So I had to come in and help them increase their revenue in giving them access to markets. So they sell the beans to me, and I process the beans. I have a small scale processing oil production factory, which I made with the help of a mechanical engineer. So after processing, getting the oil and the byproducts, we work with drivers with a 3PL company, third-party logistics, which transports the oil and the residue from the village now to town, where our selling point is. The driver, once the driver delivers the oil and the soy meal to the selling points, I have young people there, I have youth who are in charge of selling the product. And my target customers are households and boarding schools. Currently, the challenge I'm facing there is that the oil that I'm producing and the soy meal that I'm producing is way lower than the demand. Yeah, so there's a serious mismatch between supply and demand, which is a good thing. That shows if I could increase my production capacity, the business will really grow. Yeah, for me to sell my oil, the first step was to register my business, to register the business. I bootstrapped everything. I used my own money to register the business. And after getting the business registered, I got the permit. It's called vegetable oil production permit in my community. So when I got it from the government, the local government, this was a go-ahead to me. What made me decide to go for the soybean was the nutritional value of the soybean first. And secondly, I saw that the soybean is produced all year round in my town. And there was no company producing soybean oil locally. All the oil was being imported. The imported cooking oil was full of cholesterol. And according to a research carried on by a friend of mine, he's a medical doctor, he says that cholesterol was leading to hypertension, stroke, and diabetes, was causing hypertension, stroke, and diabetes in the community. And he believed that with the organic soybean oil, we can solve that problem. With organic soybean oil, we can really solve that problem. Because if people start consuming organic soybean oil, instead of the imported cooking oil, which is loaded with cholesterol, they will definitely recover their health and be more productive in life. So I said, with all this oil, maybe I could do something. It was just an idea first. I could not believe that I was going to make it. I said, let me try to do something. Right after my studies, after supply chain in Uganda, I came back to my town, and I was from my savings, from my personal savings. I looked on the internet and I saw an oil press machine because I could not afford to buy a cooking oil production line. It was too much money. I tried to look around and ask for the price. It was really, really, really high price. I could not make it. So with the help of a mechanical engineer, after looking at the prototype of the machine online, we decided to reverse engineer that machine. It took us 6 months to reverse engineer the machine, and what we got from the oil press and the mini refiner was crude oil. Good oil, this is dark oil. It can't be consumed. So we had to restart again afresh and work on the screw of the oil press. It took us 2 months to get the right screw. And from there, we got now the oil, refined oil and fit for consumption, for human consumption. We took the oil for testing at a laboratory in my town, and they said it's really fit for consumption. You can sell it. Now the next step is increasing my production capacity. Because now people like my oil. It has a high nutrition value, and it's somehow cheap compared to the imported cooking oil. But I cannot meet their demand anymore. So my only bet now is to get another production line. My first option is to build another machine locally. And the other one is to procure a modern production line. On the packaging, I had to think of sourcing bottles from Uganda. There are manufacturers, producers of bottles in Uganda. So I had to get in touch with them and source from them. Because thinking of producing the bottles locally, making the bottles locally, would have distracted me from my objective, because that's not my core activity. My core activity is to produce organic soybean oil. So I just decided to outsource that activity. Yeah. Now I've got it bottled, and it has a brand. The brand is the name of the organization, CYED. It's called CYED, and it's known in my town. CYED is Cooperation for Youth Emancipation and Development. The next is now getting it into markets, seriously, because the households should not be my only target. I want now to sell the oil to supermarkets, to more boarding schools, to hotels, etc. But I'm a bit reserved to making that move because of my production capacity. I'm producing 100 liters per day. If I approach supermarkets, boarding schools, hotels, they'll be asking for more. And when I'll fail to supply, I'll lose the reputation that I'm currently having. At 100 liters per day, I'm supplying 75 clients. To properly scale up my business, I need to procure another production line. Making it locally was good, but I did not get enough oil from it. With a locally built machine, the highest quantity you can get is 100 liters. And 100 liters is really insignificant compared to the demand. Now my plan is to procure a machine, a modern machine. And maybe after getting that modern machine, think of reverse engineering it in the future. But I need first to get a machine, produce enough soybean oil and soy meal, and supply it to the members of my communities. Adding another production line in my supply chain will mean increasing and capacitating all the key players of my supply chain. From the farmers, I should now train them on how to produce enough soybean and how to stock enough soybean. The warehouse, we should think of rebuilding it, adding space. Because if I talk about a 10 TDP machine, a machine that can produce, let me say, 2,000 liters per day, that will mean at least 6 tons of oil per day, 6 tons of soybean per day. And the farmers have the capacity of producing it, but still I have to train them and increase on the warehouse. That's from the farmer's side. Then it will also affect the transportation system. I'll have to get another 3PL, because the 3PL I'm doing business with currently has only one truck. And that won't be enough. I'll have to contract another 3PL and make sure they are flexible and agile enough to get me the beans to the factory. Another one will be hiring more youth and training them in production, in organic soybean oil production. That's at the processing stage. And from the processing stage to the selling point now and the delivery, I'll have to think about renting out a bigger selling point, like a bigger store that can accommodate all the oil and the soy meal that I'll be producing. From there, we're going now to marketing. That will require now serious marketing, because I should now think of getting into the market by approaching supermarkets, approaching central markets, local markets, approaching more boarding schools and even more households, and telling them about my product, the health benefits of my product, and how cost effective is it to them. As a soybean oil producer, I believe that I can change the life of many people in my community in terms of finance and health. When I produce organic soybean oil in significant quantities, it's the whole of the community in Bukavu that I'm impacting. And I'm also increasing the revenue of all those farmers, small women farmers in the villages. And this is helping them take their children to school. And the youth are really unemployed in my country. I have to say that. This will mean also employing them, helping them become independent and pursue their dreams, thanks to the soy value chain. And also the other side, I'll also build confidence in other youth. They will increase their self-efficacy, believe that you can start something and make it. I want to be an example to the other youth and tell them that there's future in agribusiness. And they can only believe if they really see me succeed in agribusiness. Yeah. Personally, I want to understand more, increase my knowledge of agricultural value chain and organic food production. In running a value chain, a soybean value chain, I believe that this is giving me more experience in the food chain industry. And it's helping me respond to the food security problems in my community. So in terms of knowledge, it's really a gain to me. And it means also becoming independent, financially independent. And as I said, being also a role model to the other youth in my community. I want to stand there and tell them that there's future in agribusiness and they really see it in me. And they also try to start other agribusiness in the community.
We asked Auxence how he plans to finance the growth of his business. Here, he outlines challenges and options for funding and shares details on specific opportunities that he's pursuing.
For financing, I'm thinking of two strategies. The first one is applying for a loan. But applying for a loan will mean me having some collateral, which I don't have. I tried to approach a bank in my town, and they told me they can't give me a loan because I don't have any collateral. Like, this is the collateral they wanted from me was a land title, which I don't have. My other option is applying for grants, which I'm now actively doing. I'm applying again and again, but I haven't yet gotten any positive feedback. I forget to mention that after getting the refined cooking oil, soybean oil, I was invited by Tetra Tech. Tetra Tech is an American organization which is implementing the USAID project called Feed the Future, Strengthening Value Chains. They invited me to come to their exhibition. That was November 2017. And tell people about my products. I got there with my team and people were amazed. People liked my product. I went there with 200 liters and they bought all 200 liters. And people wanted to know how I did it, how I came up with the idea. And it was really something that boosted my self-confidence again. I'm looking forward maybe to being their partner in the future because the project is going to run for 5 years. Taking on investors is a good idea, but not at this stage. I want first to grow at a certain level. Then from there, I can now bring in investors. You know, at this stage, I still look at it as a concept that is growing. I'm still rebuilding it, restructuring it. Once I get it right in terms of production capacity and control of all the players in the chain, that's when I can think of bringing in investors. The advice I will give to young people in my community is never to wait too long to start a business. It's very hard to get a loan or to get a loan from banks or to get someone who will give you just free money to start a business. Try to bootstrap, have the idea, then get something maybe from family members or maybe from your own saving and start from there. It was hard for me. You know, I started with $2,000. $2,000 to build a soybean oil production line is really unbelievable, because the whole production line is around $150,000. Now this is someone standing there with $2,000 and wants to do the same thing. But I did it because I had the passion. I wanted to get something out of it and help my community, help myself, and help young people believe in themselves.
Thank you, Auxence, for that enlightening and informative trip along your value chain. Auxence plans to position CYED as a leader in the production of high-quality soybean and sunflower oil in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He hopes to reach more than 20,000 households and expand his business to more provinces. Be sure to come back for more inspiring stories from young African leaders on the YALI Voices podcast. Join the YALI network at yali.state.gov and be a part of something bigger. Our theme music is Ego Happen by Grace Jerry and produced by the Presidential Precinct. The YALI Voices podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Department of State and is part of the Young African Leaders Initiative, which is funded by the U.S. government.